On the morning of August 15th, 1955, I was taken to the district court in County Wexford, where before a district justice I was found to be in possession of a guardian who did not exercise proper guardianship. 2 days after my appearance, an order of detention in a certified industrial school was drawn up and brought to the house I was staying in by a Garda for legal execution. Well, industrial schools in the 50s were pretty harrowing places for anybody to be. There was very little kindness of any sort shown. They were run largely by people whom I would regard as having very little emotion of the love type in them, and that everything was done on a very harsh, cruel, penal, Dickensian type basis. My mother died of cancer of the breast when I was just 4 years old, just a little over 4. And my father subsequently, 6 weeks later, hung himself. The first time I actually heard of how my parents really died was when I was 35 years of age. The body of Paddy Doyle had been cut down by a priest from a nearby parish. After an examination, the doctor estimated that the time of death had been some 12 hours earlier. He added that the child had been found by some local people rambling around the farm in a state of great distress. The district justice inquired from the doctor whether I had witnessed the suicide. It would seem so, Your Honour. When asked what the long-term effects of this trauma would be on me, the doctor replied that there was no way of knowing. When I was taken into industrial school first, having witnessed my father's death, I apparently spent a great deal of time talking about the event and constantly seeing what happened. And rather than being encouraged to talk about it, I was actually prevented every time I did say something. The likelihood was that I would be beaten and prevented. And it's quite interesting that only recently, a very good friend of mine who is a doctor happened to say to me, if only somebody had picked you up, put you on their knee, and said, tell me what it is that's troubling you. And there is always the possibility that because I wasn't allowed to talk about it, it is a contributory factor to my current disability condition. The condition is a very rare condition known as idiopathic torsion dystonia, the origins of which are uncertain, and I have endeavoured in the book to try and establish how the condition might have come about. Earlier this year, I decided to go back to Capquin. It was quite an extraordinary experience in one sense, in that I remembered precisely where the school was, not having seen the place, the village, for so many years. I was terrified of the nuns from the moment I entered the industrial school and clung to my uncle, pleading with him to take me home. A tall, thin, evil-looking nun came towards me and forced my hand away before gripping my jumper at the back of my neck to ensure that I could not grab hold of him again. I screamed and kicked in an attempt to free myself of the nun, but the more I struggled, the tighter her hold on me became. She told my uncle that I would settle down just as soon as he left. In the assembly hall, the nun looked around for somewhere to vent her anger. She ordered a group of children to bring her a table which was in one corner of the room. When it was placed to her satisfaction, she addressed the rest of the boys while holding me firmly by the ear. This child, she poked her cane into my ribs before continuing, this child is possessed by an evil demon. She paused to allow the magnitude of what she had said to sink deep into the minds of the other children. He has the devil inside him, and it is my duty to him and to God in heaven to get it out of him. He must be punished, and punished severely. He must ask God for forgiveness for the terrible sin which he has committed. She removed the cane from my ribs and ordered me to strip. At the age of about 7, I began to walk with my left foot turned in slightly, dragging my foot along the ground. The nuns decided to take me to a doctor. The initial diagnosis was that the condition was the result or the manifestation of a traumatic event in childhood, or it was imitative of somebody that I knew who walked with a limp. One psychiatrist said the movements I was manifesting could be imitative of those of my father after he hanged himself, in that his body would have jerked involuntarily for some minutes after the event. We know, for example, from other books written on industrial schools and on care of people institutionalized, that a lot of people resort to drink. A lot of girls who are institutionalized resort to prostitution, to drugs, etc., etc. But for me, the bottom line of the God Squad really is, it's a book about a society which totally abdicated its responsibility to a child. The fact that I'm the author of the God Squad, and the fact that the child is me, is somewhat irrelevant, because there are more than likely thousands of me's.